So what's interesting in the life of the church is that at some point along the journey, the scholars and the pastors and the leaders of many of the mainline churches decided that we were not going to just call this Palm Sunday, but that we would call it Palm Passion Sunday. And so you heard both readings. You heard the triumphal entry of Jesus, and also we heard the text of the crucifixion. They're pretty wise in that, because what they didn't want to have happen is they didn't want everybody to come into the church waving palms and singing Hosanna, glory to God in the highest, and having a pep rally and a party, which is what this day is about in some ways. But they also wanted people to experience what was occurring that week and not just jump from Palm Passion Sunday straight into Easter. You get the problem with that? You miss the power of the passion. You miss the story of what God is doing and has done and continues to do on our behalf. If you just jump from the parade into Jerusalem to the resurrection from the grave, there's a lot more that goes on in between those two periods of time. Amen? As a matter of fact, I encourage each and every one of you this week to read Matthew chapter 21 through 28. Now, you can take it one chapter a day if you want, but if possible, read all 8 chapters every day this week. Matthew chapter 21 through 28. There's so much that happens between Jesus entering into Jerusalem, the big parade of palms, to his Last Supper, his crucifixion, and Easter. And a part of that story that's being told is that God is inviting us to experience how to confront the principalities and the powers of this world with love. Did you hear that? This week, God is calling God's church to take seriously how we are to embody the good news of God's love in the midst of the world. And God demonstrates that to us. God shows us, God reveals God's self to us and invites us to follow. That's hard to do, isn't it? That's why we'd rather just jump from Palm Sunday to Easter, right? Because then it can just be about us. Yay, Jesus! We love him. Yay, Jesus saved us and we're going to be alive after death, right? Isn't that where people like to go? But we miss the intentionality, the purpose behind what God is doing going to Jerusalem. You see, when Jesus arrived at the hill looking over Jerusalem, and he called his disciples, and there's that whole scenario where he says, get a couple donkeys, which, by the way, I never realized in the Gospel of Matthew that Jesus rides in on 2 animals. Did you see that today? I was like, what? Now, it blew all the heart I've ever seen of Jesus, right? Of course, I think Luke, he rides in on 1, but in Matthew, it's intentional. And just little nuggets like that I think this week, if you read 21 through 28 over and over and over again, that you'll begin to see that God is inviting us into something different than just a story about saving us as individuals. That's a part of it, don't get me wrong. Praise be to God for God's grace for each and every one of us, for God's unconditional love for us, that God is able to take care of business for us, amen? But God is also taking care of business for the world. God's inviting us then, those of us who've received God's love, experienced God's grace, to step into that story and to open our eyes that God is setting for us an example on the way we should live our lives in the midst of the world. You see, it's not just that Jesus enters into Jerusalem. It's not just about Jesus' triumphal entry. Those of us who know Jesus Christ, who know the life that Christ has to offer, and know that God's power through Jesus Christ, that power of love, is able to accomplish everything for us and for God's creation, are being invited to live our lives and embody this good news in the relationship of the world just as Jesus did. That's why when everybody was gathered on that mountain, raising their palms and singing Hosanna, as Jesus continued to enter into Jerusalem, began to drop their palms. They all came with their ideas about who Jesus was and what Jesus was about to do. But the closer he gets to the heart of Jerusalem, it becomes very aware that he's not going to do what they thought he was. First, it started with those who were at the gate, waving and singing, Hosanna, praise be to God. Then it was some who were loosely connected to Jesus. And by the time you get to the crucifixion, who's left? Just the women. One gospel says John was there. But that was after he was crucified. Where were they before that? Even his closest confidant, Peter. What does Peter do? Denies him. You see, things weren't going down like they thought they were going to go. Which I was thinking, what is an image or a story that you all might be able to relate to? Kind of create that kind of tension in that moment. And this is extremely oversimplified, but it's the best thing I can think of. Any of you ever grow up in a neighborhood when you were a kid? Yeah, a couple of you? I mean, some of you I know might have grown up in the woods 25 miles away from everybody, but most people grew up in a neighborhood and there were probably other kids around, right? Now, I know this is not going to speak. We're having this My Generation gatherings where we're talking about different generational groups. That those who are known as millennials probably didn't have the same experience. Back in the day, we were allowed to play outside. By ourselves, that's right. Matter of fact, our parents kicked us out of the house. Said, don't come back until the lights come on the street lights, right? I mean, there have been whole comedy routines based around that, right? And so we used to play outside, and when you used to play outside, you found other friends in the neighborhood you liked to hang out with. I would hang out with Duke fans. Dan would hang out with UNC. You got in your little groups, didn't you? And without fail, your group always had another group that you didn't like too much. Let's be honest, right? I mean, we are really good at organizing tribes. And we are super good at identifying the other, the bad guy. See, when I grew up in Point Santa Village, it was middle school. All of my little friends lived right around the same area. We used to play together. Now, we didn't like everybody in our group, but we got along. And we were at least the group that played in the northern woods. But then there was a group who played in the southern woods. And we were always trying to figure out a way to attack them. I don't know what it was. It's just instinct that we should go after each other. In addition to these tribal groups that exist in neighborhoods, there were also some folks that were identified as bullies. Now, in the first service, I had to confess, because Danny started laughing uncontrollably, that there's a backstory behind this idea of bullying. We used to have a drummer by the name of Bill Patterson. You all remember Bill? Mm-hmm. Bill and April and his family, they moved to Tennessee about 2 years ago. One of the best drummers ever in our area. Right. We miss him greatly. But Bill also grew up in Point Santa Village. And whenever I would talk about Point Santa Village, Bill would always say, "You were the bully." And I would respond, "I'm not a bully." And he used to tell these stories, and I can't even picture myself in these stories. It's like he made them up.
Maybe he confronted you.
We're moving on there. Without fail, in the neighborhood you grew up in, there usually was somebody who was the bully. Now, there's several ways you can deal with a bully, especially if you're a group of ruddy kids in the neighborhood. The first way is run. Ignore the bully. So whenever the bully came around, you just split. Didn't deal with the bully. Just pretend like the bully wasn't even there. The other way is beat the bully up. But you couldn't do it alone. So you had to develop a strategy. We'll go down to the playground. You know that Johnny walks to the playground about 3:30 p.m. And one of you will jump out and say, "Hey, Johnny, come and get me." And you run this way. And when he gets in the woods, we'll jump in. And you know what we'll do when we jump in? We will beat him up. And you know what? He'll learn his lesson then, right? There's a third way. There's always that one kid who's insane. That after hours and hours of trying to figure out how we could put an end to this bullying violently, would say, why don't we just go talk to him? And we would say, go ahead. Come back and tell us what he said. And so we'd send the kid off. And you know what would happen to that kid? He'd get beat up. He'd get beat up. But he'd want us to come with him. And most of the time we wouldn't. Because we didn't think it would end well. And Jesus was on the hill looking over Jerusalem. He went into Jerusalem with a purpose. It was to confront the principalities and powers of this world. It was to stand in the face of violence with love. It was to be the ultimate self-offering. For you and me, but even more than that. So that the cycle, the perpetual cycle of violence and abuse and domination and control would be brought to an end. Somebody had to stop the cycle. And while he was standing on the hill, he turned to all his brothers and sisters and said, there's a whole lot of bullies down there. Let's go talk to them. And that's when the palms started to drop. This is the hard part of the story. This is the part that's difficult for us. It's difficult for me. To realize that God is inviting me to enter Jerusalem just like Jesus. To follow him there. Not just so I could experience what God was doing on our behalf, but that I might become aware that God is inviting me to share and embody that same love. Gosh, that's tough, isn't it? Man, that's going to take some courage. Boy, is that going to take this Holy Spirit. So Jesus is inviting us. Not just 2,000 years ago, but right now. Church, body. This is what it means to live. Doesn't mean that we should be avoiding the issues, running away from the bullies and the problems. It definitely doesn't mean that we need to become the bully. That we need to figure out new ways to be even more violent. That somehow that's going to end violence. But at some point, our hearts, our minds, our lives might be open enough to realize that what Jesus has done for us, he's asking us to do the same. And whenever God's church, God's people, you and me, participate and take those bold steps to stand in the place of the voiceless, to lift up the oppressed and the broken, to offer words of comfort and healing to those who need healing and comfort in their lives, to stand in opposition to the violence of the world, the principalities and the powers that say this is the only way this system will work. Whenever the church does that, guess what? Jesus enters Jerusalem again. That's the Lord that I find worthy to follow. A God who's interested in making and being a difference. Just talk. You're being invited. The good news is that even though we put down our palms and sometimes we fail and sometimes we deny him, he's still gracious and welcomes us back over and over and over again. I'm continually being invited back again and again and again. I think God's just hoping, by the power of the Spirit, someday Roy might get it. And maybe the church too. Did you all know that our world's a crazy place? Did you all know that there's a whole lot of terrible things going on in our world right now? Do you know that there are religious groups killing each other on all different religious sides? Did you all know that? Did you know that there are extremists in every color and flavor that are interested in taking life? Did you all know that? Don't you think it's time we might sit down with all those other religious groups at some point and say, what does it mean to love? How do we embody that? Do you think it may be time that we stood in the gaps and said, guess what? It's not worth participating in that violence. But figuring out new ways. I don't know. Just here we are on the hill together. On Passion Sunday once again. What direction are we going to head? Into Jerusalem? Or back to the neighborhood where it's coming? Glory of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen.